You are going to take roughly 25,000 breaths today.
Which a lot.
Yeah, it's a massive number. And if you're anything like, well, most modern humans living right now, you are probably doing almost every single one of them completely wrong.
Sadly, yeah, it's true.
Right. I mean, usually when we decide we want to get healthy or, optimize our mornings or figure out why we're so exhausted all the time, we immediately look down at our dinner plates.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about food.
Exactly. We obsess over the exact breakdown of our diets. The macros, the superfoods, looking for organic labels. We treat what we eat like it's the ultimate defining control panel for our biology.
Right, but then we completely ignore this other process.
Yes, a biological process that brings billions of molecules into our bodies with every single rep, 25,000 times a day. We barely give our breath a second thought. So welcome to today's deep dive.
It's a really exciting one today.
It is. We are exploring James Nestor's groundbreaking book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. And our mission for you today is to discover why the physical mechanics of, well, how you breathe matter just as much as what you eat.
If not more, honestly.
Right. And we're going to talk about how to fix these broken breathing habits you probably don't even realize are destroying your sleep and your energy.
Yeah, and to really understand why our breathing habits are so broken today, Nestor's research suggests we actually have to zoom way out. Like way out.
How far back are we talking?
We have to go back about 1.5 million years to look at the shape of the human face. Because the great irony of our biology is that human evolution, the very mechanism that made us so intelligent, is actually the exact same mechanism that ruined our airways.
Okay, let's unpack this. I'm trying to picture how getting smarter actually makes us worse at something as fundamental as breathing.
Well, it all comes down to the discovery of fire, right? And cooking. When our ancient ancestors, like Homo erectus, started tenderizing their meat and cooking their root vegetables over a fire, the food became significantly softer.
Oh, so it was vastly easier to digest.
Exactly, and that saved the body an enormous amount of metabolic energy that, used to go toward breaking down tough, raw food.
Right.
So evolution essentially took all that newly available energy and diverted it into growing our highly complex, massive brains.
Which sounds like a huge win for humanity. I mean, obviously.
On one hand, yes, totally. But a bigger brain needed physical room to stretch out inside the skull.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. As the brain expanded, it pushed our faces forward and down. It literally squashed our snouts. It severely shrank our mouths, and it compressed our sinus cavities.
Wow.
So over hundreds of thousands of years, we were left with this protruding nose, but vastly less internal airway space behind it to actually move air through.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this, it's basically like we upgraded our biological computer to have this massive, incredibly powerful processor, our big brains.
Right.
But to make it fit in the casing, we had to shrink the cooling fan and the exhaust pipe.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it, yes. The entire system becomes highly prone to overheating. And the compounding factor is that things got significantly worse just in, the last few hundred years.
During the industrial age?
Exactly. Our modern diets shifted from tough, wild foods that required intense chewing to extremely soft, processed stuff. We're talking canned foods, white bread, smoothies, oatmeal.
All the easy stuff.
Right. And because we essentially stopped chewing vigorously, our facial bones stopped developing fully.
And that leads to a very specific modern problem, doesn't it?
It does. Humans now have the sad distinction of being the absolute worst breathers in the entire animal kingdom.
The worst. Out of every animal.
The absolute worst. In fact, we are the only species on Earth that routinely suffers from chronically crooked teeth. Dentists call it malocclusion.
Wait, really? No other animals get crooked teeth?
Basically, no. And it's not some random genetic defect. It's just that our mouths have grown way too small to fit the teeth we are biologically programmed to have.
Wow. So that shrinking real estate in our face means less room for teeth, but more importantly, less room for air.
Exactly.
And for you listening, wondering why ancient bone structure matters, this anatomical bottleneck is the hidden driver behind the very real everyday issues you might be dealing with right now. You're snoring, waking up exhausted, feeling stressed out for no reason. It's all connected to this compromised airway.
It really is the root of so many problems.
So if our anatomy sets us up to fail, What happens when we force it to its absolute limits? Because here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, that question leads directly to a rather intense, honestly, arguably masochistic experiment conducted at Stanford University.
Oh, the Stanford Experiment. This is
That's
wild.
crazy. So James Nestor and a Swedish breathing therapist named Anders Olsson teamed up with Dr. Jayakar Nayak, who is a highly respected nasal and sinus surgeon, and they wanted to test exactly what happens when you completely eliminate the nose from the breathing process.
Just totally bypass it.
Right. And the setup was brutal. For 10 solid days, Nestor and Olson had silicone plugs shoved deep inside their nasal cavities and then had their noses taped completely shut.
Just visualizing that makes my chest feel tight. They deliberately forced themselves to exclusively breathe through their mouths for, what, 240 consecutive hours?
Every single
Yeah.
breath, sleeping, eating, exercising.
That sounds like torture.
It practically was. And the physiological fallout was staggering. Nestor recorded his biometrics meticulously, throughout the whole thing. In just a matter of days, his snoring skyrocketed by 1,300%.
Wait, 1,300 in just a few days?
Just days. And it didn't stop there. By the end of the 10-day mouth breathing phase, his snoring hit a 4,820% increase.
That is an insane spike. Did the other guy, Olson, see similar numbers?
He absolutely did. To give you a sense of the scale, Olson went from 0 snoring, literally none before the experiment, to snoring for over 4 hours a night.
Wait, 4 hours of straight snoring.
Mhm.
So they didn't just sleep poorly. They essentially gave themselves severe sleep apnea on purpose.
They did. Both of them saw their sleep apnea events multiply. Their blood oxygen levels dipped. Nestor's blood pressure spiked by an average of 13 points.
Wow.
Yeah, it immediately pushed this otherwise very healthy guy into stage 1 hypertension.
From breathing through his mouth?
Exactly. Their heart rate variability completely plummeted, which is a major indicator of physical stress. Nestor described living in this thick, exhausting mental fog, just feeling completely awful.
But they didn't stop there, because there was a second phase where they unplugged their noses, right? I imagine it takes weeks to recover from that kind of physiological damage.
Well, you would think so, but the data showed something astonishing. The absolute second they removed those silicone plugs and switched back to exclusive nasal breathing, the recovery was practically instantaneous.
Instant.
Yeah. Nestor's blood pressure dropped from the 140s back down to a healthy 124. The snoring essentially disappeared overnight, and the sleep apnea just vanished.
Wait. Are you saying that just by closing the jaw and breathing through the nose, the body can genuinely bounce back that fast?
It really can.
How does the mouth cause that much chaos in the first place?
It comes down to basic mechanics and physics, really. The mouth is simply not designed to be a primary airway. It's a backup system for emergencies.
Like an overflow valve.
Exactly. When you rely on it as your main breathing route, especially at night, the soft tissues in the back of your throat become loose and flabby.
Oh, right.
So the air pulls them inward, and your airway physically collapses, which is what causes snoring and apnea. But nasal breathing creates negative pressure. It forces air against those tissues, toning them and keeping the airway wide open, kind of like a stent.
Okay, that makes total sense when I think about how terrible it feels to wake up after sleeping with a stuffy nose. You're parched, you're exhausted, your head is pounding.
It's the worst.
It's not just a minor annoyance to breathe through your mouth all night. It's a full-blown biological crisis.
Absolutely.
So clearly the mouth is a terrible primary airway.
Yeah.
But what exactly is the nose doing differently that makes such a massive difference? Let's dive into the anatomy.
Well, Nestor learned from rhinologists that the nose is incredibly complex. It's not just an air hole. It is an active, dynamic organ. It acts as a heavy-duty filter, a humidifier, and a pressurizer all at once.
Okay.
When air enters the nose, it's forced through these turbine-like structures called conchae. By the time that air reaches your lungs, it is perfectly warmed and moistened.
Which the lungs obviously prefer.
Right. But the real magic is chemical. Breathing through your nose boosts your body's levels of a molecule called nitric oxide by 6-fold.
Nitric oxide. I know bodybuilders take supplements for that to get a pump.
Yeah.
What is it actually doing in our daily breath?
It's a potent vasodilator. It dramatically widens your capillaries and relaxes smooth muscle tissue. Yeah. Because of this pressurizing effect and the massive dose of nitric oxide, nasal breathing allows your body to absorb roughly 18% more oxygen than if you gulped the exact same volume of air through your mouth.
Wait, 18%. So you were literally getting 18% more energy out of the exact same breath just by changing the door the air walks through.
Exactly. It's incredibly efficient.
It's like comparing the nose to a high-end, multi-stage, climate-controlled HVAC system.
Yeah.
And the mouth is just like leaving a window open in a blizzard and hoping for the best.
That's a perfect way to look at it. And it gets even more intricate. Your nose actually has gears.
Gears? What do you mean?
It's tied directly into your autonomic nervous system through something called the nasal cycle. Your nostrils basically take shifts throughout the day, swelling and shrinking. The right nostril acts as a physiological gas pedal.
Okay, how so?
And it connects to your sympathetic nervous system, so breathing heavily through the right side increases your heart rate, elevates your blood pressure, and boosts your alertness.
And the left side.
The left nostril acts as the brake. It's tied to the parasympathetic system. Breathing through the left side cools the body, lowers blood pressure, and relaxes your mind.
Okay, I am thoroughly sold on the nose. I mean, it's a superpower. But practically speaking, I can control my breathing during the day while I'm awake. How do I stop my jaw from dropping open the second I fall asleep?
This is where Nestor introduces the most actionable, immediate, do-it-tonight hack in the entire book.
I love a good do-it-the-night hack.
He found highly respected experts like dentist Dr. Mark Burhen and Stanford speech-language pathologist Ann Kearney, who practically shout this from the rooftops. It's called mouth taping.
Okay, I have to admit, my immediate reaction to the phrase mouth taping is pure panic. Isn't taping your mouth shut at night terrifying?
A lot of people think that at first.
I mean, what if I get congested and I can't breathe? It sounds like a hostage situation.
That is definitely the most common reaction, but the reality is much less dramatic. You are not taking, like, heavy-duty duct tape and wrapping it across your entire face.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, you take a tiny strip of porous, hypoallergenic surgical tape, about the size of a postage stamp, and you place it right in the center of your lips.
So it's not a hermetic seal.
Not at all. It's just a gentle physical reminder for your jaw muscles to stay closed. If you really needed to mouth breathe during the night, you could easily open your lips and break the tape, or just breathe right around the sides of it.
Oh, that makes it much less scary.
Right. But that tiny reminder trains the jaw to stay shut. It prevents that soft tissue collapse we talked about, cures snoring, stops sleep apnea, and has even been used in clinical settings to help treat conditions like ADHD in children.
Wait, ADHD, just from tape.
Yeah, by finally allowing their brains to get deep, uninterrupted, oxygen-rich sleep, their symptoms improve dramatically.
That is mind-blowing. So we've closed the mouth, we've engaged the nose. But how fast should that air be moving? Because it turns out there's a magic number.
There really is. The speed and volume of the air matter just as much as the pathway. Nestor explores research from scientists in Pavia, Italy, and in New York who studied the optimal pace of human respiration.
What exactly were they looking for?
They hooked patients up to sensors to measure heart rate, blood flow, and nervous system activity, testing all sorts of different breathing rhythms.
And did they find a universal sweet spot?
They did. They discovered that the absolute perfect breath, the one that optimizes the human body, is exactly 5.5 seconds breathing in and 5.5 seconds breathing out.
Which works out perfectly to about 5.5 breaths a minute.
Exactly. It's this perfect, consistent loop.
That is incredibly specific. What is happening inside the body at that exact 5.5-second rhythm?
Researchers call it resonant or coherent breathing. When you hit that specific pace, your heart, your lungs, and your nervous system basically lock into a state of physiological coherence.
Like they're perfectly synced up.
Yes. It is the state of peak cardiovascular efficiency. Your heart rate variability peaks, it instantly calms the central nervous system, and it significantly increases the efficiency of blood flow to the brain.
So what does this all mean? Because here's where I think this gets truly wild. Nestor points out this spooky symmetry hidden in plain sight across ancient cultures that had absolutely zero contact with each other.
It's fascinating.
All right. He found that this exact 5.5-second rhythm is perfectly embedded in the original Latin Catholic rosary, the Ave Maria prayer. It's the exact timing of ancient Buddhist mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum. It's the exact pace of Kundalini yoga chants.
Yeah. Did ancient monks and priests accidentally engineer the ultimate cardiovascular hack and just disguise it as prayer?
It certainly appears that way.
Right. I mean, they didn't have heart rate variability monitors or blood oxygen sensors, obviously, but they understood the profound shift in how they felt. By syncing their vocalizations to this 5.5-second rhythm, they were actively entering a state of physiological coherence.
And For you, listening right now, the beauty of this is how incredibly practical it is.
Mhm.
You don't need to buy expensive gear. You don't need to book a silent meditation retreat.
Nope.
You can do this at your desk while staring at a frustrating email or sitting in completely gridlocked traffic. Just breathe in for 5.5 seconds, out for 5.5 seconds. You instantly hack your own stress response.
It's completely free and always available.
Exactly. Slowing down is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But there's a counterintuitive twist coming up. It's not just about the pace of your breath, it's about the volume. Sometimes, less is more.
Yeah, this is perhaps the hardest concept for people to wrap their heads around. Nestor dives into the work of a Ukrainian cardiologist named Konstantin Butaiko.
The Butaiko method. Right?
Exactly.
Oh.
He pioneered the concept of hypoventilation, which essentially means breathing less. Nestor discovered that consciously taking smaller, lighter breaths overall actually builds up your body's tolerance to carbon dioxide.
Wait, how does that actually work? I need you to break that down.
Yeah.
Isn't carbon dioxide the bad waste gas we want to get rid of?
That's what we all think.
Right. From the time we are kids, we're taught that oxygen is the good stuff that gives us life, and CO2 is the exhaust fume we need to purge. Why on earth would we want a tolerance to it?
It is the ultimate biological paradox, and it trips almost everyone up. Yes, CO2 is a byproduct of cellular respiration, but having slightly more carbon dioxide present in your bloodstream is the essential trigger that allows oxygen to actually do its job.
How so? Walk me through the mechanism.
Okay, think of your red blood cells, specifically the hemoglobin protein, like a fleet of delivery trucks carrying oxygen.
Okay, I'm with you.
They drive through your bloodstream, but those trucks will not unlock their doors and deliver the oxygen to your muscles, your tissues, or your brain unless the local environment has a specific level of acidity.
And carbon dioxide is what creates that acidity.
Precisely. This is known in physiology as the Bohr effect. If you overbreathe, if you are constantly panting, sighing, or taking huge, rapid mouth breaths because you're stressed, you blow off and purge too much carbon dioxide.
And without the CO2, the blood becomes too alkaline.
Right. And when the blood is too alkaline, the oxygen stays locked tightly onto the hemoglobin. The trucks just keep driving past the cells that desperately need them.
Oh, wow.
So by breathing too much, you are literally starving your own brain and tissues of oxygen. You can take a massive gulp of air, have a blood oxygen saturation of 99%, and still have oxygen-starved muscles because you lack the CO2 to release it.
That completely flips everything I thought I knew about deep breathing. If I take a massive rapid breath to calm down, I might actually be making my brain more starved for oxygen.
Exactly. You're making it worse.
And Nestor found that this isn't just a clinical theory, right? Elite athletes have used this intentionally.
Oh, at the highest levels of human performance. Nestor highlights legendary athletes like the Olympic distance runner Emil Zatopek or James Councilman, the swimming coach who trained the U.S. Olympic team.
What did they do?
They actively used breath restriction, deliberately breathing less and holding their breath to simulate high-altitude training right at sea level.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, by building up that CO2 tolerance, they massively boosted their endurance because their bodies became incredibly efficient at unlocking and utilizing every single molecule of oxygen.
That is fascinating. But I want to circle back to something we touched on at the very beginning. We talked about how our modern squashed faces are the root cause of this narrow airway problem.
Yeah, it's the evolutionary shrinking.
Yeah. If our facial structure is already set, are we just doomed to be bad breathers? Or can we actually reverse that structural damage?
The structure is actually fixable, and it brings us back to the power of chewing. Nestor visited the Morton collection of ancient skulls at the University of Pennsylvania. He looked at human skulls from hundreds and thousands of years ago.
And let me guess, no malocclusion.
None. Every single ancient skull he examined had perfectly straight teeth, wide jaws, and massive cavernous airways. No braces, no palate expanders.
Unbelievable.
Because they spent hours a day chewing tough, fibrous, raw foods, their facial structure developed optimally.
But we eat a diet where 95% of our calories are incredibly soft. So our jaws never get that mechanical stress. But if I'm an adult, aren't my bones already hardened? How does chewing help me now?
Here is the incredible mechanism. The bones in the center of our face, specifically the maxilla, don't fully fuse and stop growing in our 20s like the bones in our arms or legs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The sutures, the seams between these bones, remain somewhat malleable and packed with stem cells well into our 70s.
So you can literally remodel your own skull.
Yes. By introducing hard chewing back into our daily lives and by practicing proper oral posture, a technique often referred to as mewing, you can exert continuous gentle force on those bones.
How exactly does mewing work?
It involves keeping your mouth closed, your teeth lightly touching, and pressing the entire bulk of your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth. Over time, that upward pressure from the tongue can actually expand the palate, remodel the facial sutures, and physically widen a clogged airway, even if you are well into adulthood.
There is an incredible amount of science to process here. We've covered a massive amount of ground, from ancient skulls in Philadelphia, to getting tortured with silicone plugs at Stanford, to the biochemical locking mechanism of carbon dioxide. How do you suggest someone listening actually puts this all together into a normal, everyday routine?
Well, Nestor synthesizes all of this into a very simple, completely free daily checklist. First, shut your mouth,
Always a good start.
right? Make a conscious, sustained effort to nose breathe all day long, whether you are typing an email or going for a jog. Second, try the mouth taping at night. Use that tiny piece of tape to ensure your jaw stays closed and your airway stays open while you sleep.
And for the actual mechanics of the breath.
Third, periodically throughout your day, consciously slow your breathing down to that magic rhythm, roughly 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out. Fourth, practice taking slightly lighter, quieter breaths to build up your carbon dioxide tolerance so your cells can actually absorb the oxygen you're taking in.
Makes sense.
And finally, chew harder foods. Ditch the endless smoothies and practice keeping your tongue resting firmly against the roof of your mouth.
And it is so important to emphasize that we are not diagnosing diseases here. And we certainly aren't telling anyone to throw away their sleep apnea machines or stop any medical treatments. We are just exploring the scientific findings laid out in Nestor's book.
Exactly. We're just talking about the science.
But what's so empowering is that these are foundational, scientifically backed tools to gain more energy, to finally get truly restorative sleep, and to protect your heart as you age. Breathing is an ancient, lost art, but it's an art that literally anyone can relearn.
I completely agree. And as a final thought, if we connect these physical mechanics to the broader picture of our mental health, there is a truly profound theory proposed in the book by a researcher named Justin Feinstein.
Oh, I remember this part. It completely changes how we view anxiety.
Feinstein suggests that chronic anxiety and panic attacks might not always originate purely as psychological issues. They might actually be triggered by misfiring chemoreceptors in the brain caused directly by our bad breathing habits.
Right, because if you are chronically stressed and you are constantly over-breathing and purging all your carbon dioxide, you are altering your blood chemistry.
Precisely.
You are inadvertently sending a false suffocation alarm to your own brain. Your body literally thinks it is dying on a cellular level, so it triggers a full-blown panic attack to try and save you.
Exactly. It forces us to ask a revolutionary question. Could fixing your physical breath be the ultimate foundational secret to treating your mental health?
That is a powerful idea for you to think about the next time you catch yourself sighing heavily at your desk or panting in gridlock traffic. You know, we started this deep dive talking about the dinner plate. We obsess over every single calorie, every macro, every vitamin we put into our mouths to try and build a healthier, more vibrant life. But maybe the most important thing going into your mouth is nothing at all. Maybe true, foundational health starts the very moment you close your lips and finally let your nose do the magnificent job it spent 1.5 million years perfecting. Thank you for joining us on today's deep dive.